Last night unfolded like so many others had before for Brian and me. We shared dinner, cleaned up the kitchen side by side, and eventually curled up on the couch, each of us holding a glass of wine. It was our usual Thursday night routine, simple, familiar, comforting. Most weeks, we ended the night watching old sitcom reruns, laughing at jokes we already knew by heart. I held on to those nights like small treasures. They made me feel safe, grounded, like I was exactly where I belonged. But this time, something was off. There was a tension around Brian that hadn't been there before. He was unusually quiet, his eyes distant, and a faint crease settled on his forehead that only deepened as time went on. I noticed it during the second episode of Friends, but I chose not to say anything right away. Then, without a word, his fingers slipped into mine. His hand felt cooler than usual, a subtle contrast to the warmth of mine. He turned to look at me, and I caught that familiar look in his hazel eyes, the thoughtful one that always seemed to carry more than he let on. "Amy," he said, his voice calm but serious, "can we talk?" That one sentence made my back straighten. My heartbeat picked up speed. My mind raced. Was something wrong with his health? Was it about his job? Family issues? "Of course," I replied, doing my best to sound casual, though nerves were already rising inside me. He took a slow breath and reached for the remote, muting the television. "I've been thinking a lot about us lately," he said deliberately. "Not because anything's broken. I love you, probably more than I ever have, but I've come to realize there's something I've been keeping to myself." I blinked, confused. Brian had always been emotionally open with me, gentle, expressive, never afraid to talk through his feelings. I couldn't imagine what he could have been hiding. "What do you mean, you've been holding something back?" I asked, turning my body toward him, watching his face closely. He squeezed my hand gently. "I've been trying to be who I thought you needed me to be," he admitted. "Reliable. Strong. The guy who always keeps it together. But the truth is, there's something I've needed to express for a long time, and I just didn't know how to say it." I leaned closer, my heartbeat thudding, not in fear but in anticipation. "You know you can tell me anything," I said softly. He gave a faint nod and slowly let go of my hand. Then he stood up and began pacing the room, his steps small but restless. Eventually, he stopped and faced me again. "I want us to try something new. Something that changes how we relate to each other and to ourselves. Emotionally, mentally. Not forever, just for one night." There was an edge of nervousness in his voice, and I could feel it echoing inside me. "Okay," I replied, drawing the word out, giving him space to explain. "I think we need to step outside of our usual rhythm," he said. "Let go of our routines, just for tonight. No expectations, no scripts. Just honesty. Real honesty. About who we are and what we feel, without holding anything back." I sat quietly, letting the idea sink in. It didn't sound unreasonable. In fact, it reminded me of something a therapist might recommend to help couples reconnect. But the intensity in his tone suggested this was more personal. "Are you suggesting, like, role play or something?" I half-joked, hoping to lighten the mood. He gave a quick laugh, but only briefly. "Not that," he said. "I'm talking about saying what's never been said. Listening without interrupting, without judging. Just letting the truth be what it is." I met his eyes, and for a moment, all I saw was vulnerability. Real, raw, unguarded. And it pulled at something deep inside me. I nodded slowly. "All right, let's try it." We turned off the television and set our wine glasses aside. Then we turned to each other fully, like two people meeting all over again. Brian was the first to speak. "When we first met," he began, "I was terrified. You felt completely out of my league. So smart, full of life, like nothing could stop you. I felt like just some ordinary guy, trying desperately to keep up, but I wanted to be worthy of you more than anything." His words caught me off guard. I smiled, touched. "I used to think the same about you," I said honestly. "You always seemed so composed, so confident. I was scared I'd mess it all up." Encouraged, he leaned in slightly. "There's more," he continued. "4 years, I felt like I had to be the one who kept everything together. The dependable one. But the truth is, there were so many times I felt completely lost. Scared. And I didn't know how to tell you without feeling like I was failing you. I reached up and brushed his cheek gently. You never had to be perfect for me, I whispered. I've always loved every flawed, messy, beautiful part of you. His eyes shimmered, tears welling up. Then it was my turn. I opened up about the days when I felt invisible, not because of him, but because I didn't know how to ask for what I truly needed. I admitted I sometimes missed the thrill of our early days, the butterflies, the late-night talks, the spontaneity. I confessed I occasionally longed for the version of myself who used to dream big, believe she could conquer anything. We sat there for hours, unraveling the things we'd never voiced. No pretending, no filters, just honesty, layer by layer. And then Brian said something that changed everything. I want us to make a promise, he said gently. That once a month we do this. No phones, no background noise. Just us, talking. No subject off limits. A rush of emotion rose in my chest. My voice caught. I'd love that, I managed to say. But he wasn't finished. And I want us to try new things together, he added. Not just talks, experiences. Like taking a dance class, going on a random road trip, cooking something totally weird just for fun. I don't want us to get too comfortable. I want to keep surprising each other. Keep growing. Even when we're old and wrinkled. That's when the tears spilled over. Not from sadness, but from a deep, overwhelming gratitude. I was with someone who didn't just love me, he wanted to keep evolving with me. We held each other, wrapped in a long, silent embrace. Later, we played some old jazz records and danced barefoot across the living room floor. No rules, no plan, just movement, just us. Rediscovering the magic between us all over again. This morning, I found a note on my pillow in Brian's familiar handwriting. Thank you for last night. You gave me more than you'll ever realize. I folded it carefully and tucked it into my journal, smiling like someone who'd just fallen in love for the very first time. And somehow, everything feels brand new.